Kenny's wearing a Formula One shirt today.
And I will remember that race for the rest of my life. It was freaking-tacular.
Where was it?
Indy.
You're talking about F1 right now? In that manner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know.
Is that the?
I'm just a little stunned.
Was that the year? No, I don't. That wasn't the year when the tire companies were like, "We're not racing."
Yes. No, that was not it. No.
Do you guys know the story behind that? Do you guys know the story?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, yeah, it's fine. Everybody knows this story.
Go to a 4-shot if you would.
Everybody knows the story, so we'll kick off before this. But anyway, IMS, I think it was maybe 2005, 2006-ish. At the time, Formula One had 2 tire manufacturers. And the tires were so bad that year for this one manufacturer that every single one of the teams was like, we're not going to race. and so they started the race on the grid with only like less than 10
like half a dozen, man.
Yeah, like half. There was like 6 drivers on the grid, and Michael Schumacher won the race.
They raced?
Rest of the teams didn't race.
Wow.
They boycotted that race.
Wow.
Because it was 2 tire companies, which we won't name on this show.
All right. Ready to hit it and get it?
Live from the Lucas Oil Studios, it's Horsepower Hump Day. Because every NASCAR fan needs a push of the old bumper to get them over that hump.
Stop. Oh, my God.
Here's Kenny, Crash, Richie, and Cole. Let's get humping, boys.
Freak Nation, peaked there, didn't I? In typical sports, whether it's Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the NBA, when you get into playoffs and you get into the stories, the side stories, the ancillary stories to playoffs, and really what teams have to do to stay there to remain, all of those situations, frankly, the stories start to heat up. But now that we are how many races into? Are we 4? 4 races into our playoffs for the NASCAR 2025 championship, and the stories just aren't coming. They are not coming. We can try and create stories, but frankly, we don't want to waste your freaking time. The only stories that are really, again, getting above the line. What do the kids call it nowadays? Back in the day, it was above the line newspapers. What do they call it? What do they call it? Above the line, above the fold, above the fold,
all right.
Above the fold. That's what the kids used to call it back in the 40s. Above the fold. The only 2 headlines that we've got coming out of NASCAR are still Denny Hamlin versus Ty Gibbs, and the ratings with NASCAR that continue to fall, while Formula One that runs at 5 a.m. on the West Coast.
4 a.m. For Baku. Yeah.
Right.
I was up at 4 a.m., all right? I set my alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning here in Arizona. I woke up, and I was way more entertained by Baku than I was NASCAR New Hampshire. I'm just going to say that.
Well, according to a lot of people, Richie, they might feel the same way. Not necessarily Formula One fans, but they weren't that excited about New Hampshire, as a lot of us were not. We talked about it Sunday night after the race, and again, we can't figure out the NASCAR fan, Cole Cusimano, because if you go by the basic metric of Jeff Gluck's poll, Jeff Gluck, a NASCAR insider, writes for The Athletic, always puts out, was so-and-so a good race. All right. Evidently, many folks thought that New Hampshire was a good race.
Want me to weigh in on that?
No, I want Richie to stop looking at you.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Stay silent.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like the only reason why people might have voted yes was because it was a more entertaining race than years past at Loudon. Because there were quite a few incidents. Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin.
The third stage.
Josh Berry. Well, the second stage. Josh Berry got spun, finished runner-up. There were a few crashes, even like Brad Keselowski, that whole 5-car wide pile up.
Right.
But it still didn't do a whole lot for me, honestly. So I full transparency, voted no on that. But I can see why fans voted yes, weighing it up to Loudon races of years past.
I want to do something I haven't done before. I'm going to do it right now. Hey, Ryan, can you hear me?
Yeah, Kenny, can you hear me now?
Yeah, dude. We're live on YouTube right now, and you're calling me during the G-Damn show, Skipjack.
Oh, man, I'm sorry about that. I'm just getting out of work.
Well, right now, thousands of people are listening to your voice across the country.
That's a beautiful thing. We're headed to the IHRA Nitro Jam Nationals at Dragway 42.
Hey, Freak Nation, a great follow on Instagram. Fellow Lucas Oil family, Ryan Martina with Martina Motorsports. What's your Instagram account?
At Martino Motorsports.
All right, Freak Nation. Follow Ryan at Martina Motorsports. Dude, I'll call you when I get off the show, okay?
You got it.
All right.
We'll be tuning in.
All right, there you go. That's how we roll here in the Freak Nation.
I like that.
Isn't that great?
That's how you know we're live, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys put out crazy content. It is awesome with Martino Motorsports. If you get a chance, follow those guys on Instagram. Where the hell were we talking about? What the hell were we talking about?
Cole was talking about why NASCAR fans thought New Hampshire was a good race. Yeah.
It's that short memory, I guess. Or maybe it is. Well, hold on a second. It's kind of a long play type memory, if that's the reason they're saying it was a good race. Regardless,
All I got.
Freak Nation, yeah. We're trying to make sense of what is, or frankly, what isn't going on right now with the NASCAR ratings. We're going to get to the Denny Hamlin Ty Gibbs story that continues to drag on. We'll get to that coming up. We'll get to Steve Phelps talking about NASCAR and where it sits in November of 2024 compared to where we are now. But Richie did his due diligence and put together a number of graphics regarding ratings for motorsports, NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One.
I did.
Let's
I did my
go.
research
Let's
today.
just do this, Richie. Let's start with what happened over the weekend with New Hampshire versus a race halfway across the world that got a better rating at one time than NASCAR.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So USA Network, this is Adam Stern. USA Network got a 0.70 rating and a 1.29 million viewers for Sunday's Cup Series race in New Hampshire, down from a 1.0 rating and 1.88 million viewers for last year's race at the same track, and a 0.96 rating, 1.79 million for last year's fourth playoff race, which is, if you're doing the math at home, that is over 500,000 people tuned off this New Hampshire race from a year prior. Let's compare that to a race that happened several hours earlier, like Kenny said, in Baku, Azerbaijan, the F1 Grand Prix in Azerbaijan. ESPN's live telecast of Sunday's Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Can you spell Azerbaijan? Anybody? Nope. Okay. Averaged 1.1 million viewers, which is pretty damn good for a race that started at 7 a.m. Eastern time, as I was just telling everybody. But here's the number that really stuck out to me, and the number I quote tweeted on the SpeedFreaks Twitter account, which is the peak viewership for that race was 1.3 million viewers at just after 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, which is about halfway through the Baku race. So if you look at the NASCAR ratings, at one point, Formula One was indeed getting more people to tune in at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time than NASCAR was averaging during its race, which of course was going head to head with the NFL.
Mm-hmm. And if we aren't closing people's eyes already with this conversation, what I would like to do, Richie, is talk in length, well, not necessarily in length, but talk a little bit about why this is happening. Because frankly, you know my feelings about Formula One and just the lack of so many items when it comes to motorsports for me. Personalities, passing, I could go on and on. What is it about this younger set of folk that's so entertained to watch a race at 7 o'clock in the morning when, again, there are more passes in the warm-up lap of NASCAR than there are in the Formula One race?
Sure.
Fair.
Please help me out here.
Yeah, Blake is a big F1 fan. He said he was up at 4:45 a.m. Central Time to watch Baku as well, so he can help me out with this. But for me anyway, I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I don't know if this is going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people in the Freak Nation, but for me at least it does. So number one for me is I can tune into a race commercial-free. I don't have to sit through commercials. I subscribe to F1 TV. I pay $60 for the entire year. I share it with a good friend of mine, and we pay $60 a year, so we have complete access to every session, commercial-free, and an entire back catalog of Formula One races.
Okay, now I'm gonna stop you along the way here. Is that part of this rating number that Adam Stern put out? or is that strictly on ESPN?
That's actually a good point. The number from ESPN is just from ESPN. The numbers from F1 TV are not accounted for, which I saw somebody else bring this up too on our Twitter page. And F1 does not release how many subscribers they have to F1 TV by region. So we don't know how many people are subscribed to F1 TV, but I have to imagine if they're like me and they're big fans of Formula One, you're going to subscribe to F1 TV over just watching on ESPN because of all the extra content you get. And you get, to me, the better commentary, too, on F1 TV as well. But I'm assuming, yeah. So you add in, let's just give it a random number, big fans, whatever, 50, 60,000 people. That's low, but I feel like it's probably even more than that. Like, that's a pretty big amount of, that it will make you eclipse NASCAR, right? Because that's the gap right now we're talking about, which is about, 200,000 people on a weekly basis. And if F1 TV has that many subscribers, I doubt they do, but I'm sure it's more than we think, then, yeah.
It's still, I'm sorry, Cole, help me out here. That still doesn't engage me to why Formula One
I have more.
Okay, well, I just want some tangible items here. And I'm not being a dick about it. I just don't know what the attraction is to have so many free. I'm wearing a Formula One shirt from what year, Richie?
It says 2003.
It was the very first Formula One race I went to was Indianapolis, and I was blown away. It was freaking spectacular. Just because I'd never seen a Formula One race live, the pomp, circumstance, but more importantly to me, the tech from these cars and the way they sounded was unlike anything I'd heard, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But that's even before there were multiple passes in a Formula One race. This is when Michael Schumacher was racing. This was when Juan Pablo Montoya was a rookie. This is way back when. But it still didn't lead me to be a Formula One fan for numerous reasons, and one in particular is I just don't know the drivers. I'm not sold on these drivers. I don't have a physical, mental investment with these drivers like I do with my pro sports teams, or I do with NASCAR. I mean, the feels that we have for Kyle Larson or A.J. Allmendinger or Christopher Bell, dudes that continue to come in the Freak Nation, and they're part of the fabric. But if Piastri walked here in the front door, I wouldn't. If he walked in a Speedo and a tank top, I wouldn't know who the hell he would.
Yeah.
I would if he walked in on team colors.
Yeah, exactly.
But if Noah Gragson walks in a Speedo and a freaking tank top, I would know who the hell that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then that's a problem that Formula One has that I think they've gotten better at because of Drive to Survive. It's the easy thing to say, but that is everybody's gateway. And then once you watch Drive to Survive and you get hooked, then you can go and follow all the social media for all of these teams. And that's how you get to know these drivers and teams better rather than relying on your traditional media. And like, I follow a lot of the teams on social media and like Red Bull Racing and VCarb, and like some of the stuff they put out is freaking hilarious. Sure. It's great, but they like super serve their audience because they know exactly who it is. They're not relying as much as trying to grow, essentially. So I feel like F1 is growing fairly organically compared to some other sports, whereas like they're not like force feeding everything down our throats, where it's like, you want to come watch us, and then we'll grow it from there, as opposed to, outside of the Formula One movie, obviously. But
by the way, Crasher cannot make it for this show. She's doing her motherly duties and meeting with school board members to keep schools open. But you'll be with us on Sunday night as we do our part of the show from Worldwide Technology Raceway. Get your tickets now, www.raceway.com, to see the baddest pilots in the National Hot Rod Association. Join the freaks at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
There's a comment here from Blake, which is true. Like, here in the United States, they could walk around and not really be recognized by a lot of people, but like they go anywhere else and they can't go anywhere. They're swarmed internationally anytime they show up. There's even just going out in Monaco, where a lot of these guys live. It's, you see, there's Charles Leclerc walking with his girlfriend and his dog.
Richie,
let's go.
10 years ago, Ronaldo would be in downtown Phoenix and people wouldn't know who the hell he is.
True. Yeah.
I understand all that. But which again kind of backs up my point. You mentioned Red Bull and really the ancillary program that they provide. Red Bull, they have been head and shoulders above everyone in sports when it comes to outside programming of actual races. And I'm talking about social media in particular. And the balls that this group has showed, and we've benefited from Red Bull about 5 or 6 years in SpeedFreaks financially. They were the official. They didn't want to be called the official energy drink. They just want to be. In fact, there was one time, Cole Cusimano, we had 5 Red Bull cans on the table, and they said, "That's too many."
They said that's too many?
Kenny, just put one in front of you, and that's it. But Red Bull, what they've done as far as extending their brand, Richie, I mean, really do I really just crave for, I have a taste of a Red Bull? Not necessarily, but it's just like branding. If you're drinking or wearing or looking at something that's really cool, you feel like you're part of a culture. And what Red Bull has done for Formula One is mind-blowing. When they went to Las Vegas for the first time, and they've got, I don't think it was AI, but they've got their Red Bull Formula One car through the freaking lobby of a casino.
Yeah, I remember that.
When they've got a Red Bull car on a ice rink, when they got a Red Bull car on a dirt oval, when they've got, and I'm not talking about all the ancillary sports there, but I'm just talking about Formula One in general, where they've come down to the common man. And, really? There's flat track on ice, and now there's a freaking Formula One car there. There's a Formula One car going through the middle of a damn casino. So I think Red Bull, for one, is still light years above everyone else when it comes to social media and promoting their brand. Is there anyone now that comes close to it in Formula One? Well, you got to win too. Don't get me wrong. You've got to freaking win. I get that.
Ferrari is iconic, and the brand is kind of well known. I'm wearing my Ferrari hat today, so. But I'd say Ferrari's up there. Like some of these other like smaller teams too, like V-Carb, the Red Bull Junior team does a great job. Mercedes, like just watch any of their social media clips or go follow, like Formula One puts out these videos on their YouTube page where they have like little competitions between the drivers, and you get to know their personalities more, and they're hilarious. They're all so much more fun than a lot of your NASCAR drivers. But I want to add one more thing to the Formula One thing, and then we can kind of move on to talking about the other stuff. One thing I was thinking about the most this weekend was the reason why I love watching Formula One is because the types of circuits and tracks that they go to are so different week to week. And you just, all you have to do, Freak Nation, is just watch just a few laps at any track. Baku is one of them. Watch your lap at Monaco. Watch these drivers wheel those cars around those street circuits at 150 plus miles an hour on a tiny little gap you can only fit one car in. And that's what hooks me too. Like I can tune in and watch a race at Baku for an hour and a half, commercial free, and be entertained just because I'm in awe of how good these drivers are. And how hard it is to drive those race cars around a place like Baku. Like there's a place at Baku called the Castle section, right? And this is a street circuit. And so they're running through the streets of Baku. And obviously this is a really old section of this particular city. And they call it the castle section because there's a bunch of old-timey castles set up there. And they go through and they're almost at a complete stop to make it through this one corner. And it is like, it is barely past, 10 feet wide. And it is incredible the amount of skill it takes these drivers lap after lap after lap to not make a mistake and crash. As a lot of drivers did on Saturday qualifying this week. There was like 6 red flags because these guys couldn't stay off the wall because the margins are so much tighter. And I'm sorry, but I will take watching that with no passing for an hour and a half with no commercials over watching a 3-hour NASCAR race where they just go around in circles for 3 hours. 10 times out of 10.
Because that's what we've been conditioned to. The younger generation has not been conditioned to watching cars go around in ovals for 3.5 hours. Right?
Again, people used to love that. They used to tune in and watch 3.5-hour NASCAR races all the time. But anymore, again, it's the attention span. Cool, it's the attention, right?
It's the attention span, and it's the personalities, too. You talk about when NASCAR was in its golden age, its heyday, you had personalities like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Kevin Harvick, all these guys that you can kind of root for and have maybe even hate for. So, I think personality is a big deal. I did want to touch on what you said about the talent these F1 drivers have. I saw a clip yesterday put up by somebody. They did a tire test way, way back, like 1995 at Martinsville. They were testing rain tires. And Terry Labonte said, there's a reason why these F1 guys get the big bucks. And that was
Yeah.
What, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
30 years ago. So now you're talking 30 years later, and it's the same thing. The talent these guys have is undeniable. For me, as an outsider to F1, I think it's the watchability and the lack of personality. But again, I haven't been as invested as you have been.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. That's kind of what I was referring to earlier. Is that F1 is smart enough to understand as they continue to grow that they super serve their audience really well, and they're not really worried about trying to expand right now. They're expanding a lot more organically. And there's a comment here from one of our YouTube people going rounds. He says F1 gets how their fans are consuming their product and they meet them there, and that's why they're growing. And NASCAR is having a tough time right now trying to figure that out.
And like that, I think, real quick, sorry.
It's okay.
Just to interrupt. I think why I appreciate NASCAR, even with how shoddy the product has been as of late, it's because I appreciate the technicalities, the strategy that goes into the pit stops and wheeling these cars. And I think that's, like you said, the F1 fans know the product. They know how difficult it is to drive these cars. So even though there's not much passing, it's that technical aspect that really draws them in, keeps them interested.
Richie, tell me I'm wrong. I know I'm not. Have you ever seen a Formula One race live?
No, but it's on my bucket list.
Yes, and knowing your fervor for Formula One, once you see one live, it's over. You're completely on the dark side. I mean, you'll be mainlining Ferrari. I get it.
I already am.
But also, what you were saying about watching the Baku race reminds me of when I saw Formula One for the first time. I went, I get it. I freaking get it. I was a passenger in a Formula One car in Catalonia in a two-seater. It wasn't Formula One speed, but it was Formula One speed in a two-seater. And I sat in that car, my hands, my life, at the mercy of whoever the hell this guy was driving this damn thing on this Formula One track. And just like anything that your brain is telling you, you can't do it, you're doing it, and then, nope, you can't, and then bam, and I'm going around these turns, and just none of it made any sense. Then when I saw the Formula One race live, well, actually I saw it the year before, none of it makes sense. When you see these cars in and this is, 22 years ago, the tech of these cars was bananas, which, again, lured me in. Another example of I never really followed it, and still really don't until I see it live, is when I saw the Reno air races, and I see these P51s, these T6s, going around these pylons 20 feet above my freaking head. And it's like, holy shit, how does this freaking 1945 P2, whatever, I don't know, stay together, hugging these pylons at 200-something miles. When you see a motorsport live, first time Richie saw Supercross live, when you see NHRA live, there's a piece of you that runs towards it and understands it. And that's my point about Formula One is I understand it. And if you watch a Formula One race, there are times when you think that's a fucking video game. It's freaking AI because of some of these stupid moves and the fact that someone's brain can translate that quick to a wheel and throttle that quick and make that move before he's even supposed to make that move. I understand it. I understand the fandom from that perspective. All right? Seen it live.
Yes. It's just a shame that here in the United States, they price a lot of their maybe want-to-be fans who are on the edge, like I was just kind of referring to and talking about. Like they are pricing all those fans who maybe really, really want to get into the sport, as you're talking about, to go see it live and get hooked on the sport. All those fans are priced out, and that's unfortunate. And that's something they need to learn, and I hope they do. Granted, Vegas prices have come down, but when I say Vegas prices have come down, I'm talking they were like $1,000 a seat in the first year, and they've gone down to like $700 a seat now, which is a 30% drop. But still, that's way too expensive. And as much as I really wanted to go to that race this year, and it's a 4.5 hour drive to Vegas, like I just can't do it.
My money would be if I was going to take my 11-year-old daughter to this, I would take her to qualifying and practice. That's it. That's all I would do, which would be cheap seats. Yeah. But that's all she needs to see to go, my God, this is bananas, right?
That's a good compromise. That's like $100. There you go.
So, again, a lengthy discussion about Formula One that I didn't expect. I think that's the most we've talked about Formula One in our 25
Yeah,
year
now
history.
we will not talk about it again for the rest of the year because the championship battle is kind of over at this point unless Max makes a comeback. 69 points back with 7 races to go. Nice. So yeah, no Formula One for the rest of the year. Damn it! But that was 20 minutes of me
awesome.
talking about it. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. Now, what's the first graph we want to hit? Because we want to show you some items here, Freak Nation, that are tangible, and we're not just making this shit up. Some of you call us shills for NASCAR. Some of you say we're haters for NASCAR. We're just showing you our emotions and really how we feel. We don't have to bend the knee to anybody in any of these series to hit certain points, highlights. We don't have to, which is fan-freaking-tastic. We never have for 25 years, Freak Nation. So Richie's done his due diligence along with Cody Big Ass Johnson, putting some of these graphics together to show you where these ratings are going or not going in the right or wrong direction when it comes to IndyCar, Formula One, and NASCAR.
Yeah. Let's start with the big money maker. Let's start with NASCAR. Again, we just told you, go ahead and bring up the NASCAR graphic here, and we can kind of show you. This is year over year, 2024 to 2025. 2024 is in blue. 2025 is in white. Now, the big caveat here is there were a lot of changes to the TV partners this year, right? So you'll see the white, when Amazon takes over, dips off because, again, it is a subscription service that you have to pay for to watch, even though it was free this year. Thank you, NASCAR and Amazon Prime. So that's the big caveat here. But if you look, 2025 is quite a bit down from 2024 here. And that's by a pretty healthy margin. Some of that is that span where they had the 5 races on Amazon, which you see, I believe that was probably week 15 or so-ish, where that starts to kind of dip off a little bit there. But that's not good if you're NASCAR, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to see that in the first year of your brand new 7-year, $7 billion TV contract, down everywhere. Not good. And look at the difference there between, you look at weeks 21 through like 28 there. That's insane. That's insane. That's $1 million. They were getting over, in that 2.5, 3 million range for a while there. And it's just dropping off a cliff to under 2 million now.
So week 16 is close to, go ahead and leave that up. Week 16 for 2025 is close to 3 million. Let's just say 2.75 million. And then week 33 is 1.3 million. That's, whoa.
And that's accurate because week 13 was when Amazon started. That was Charlotte, and that's right where it drops off. So, I mean, that's definitely a big attributing factor to that. I think another big thing here is that there have been more races on cable this year than years past in NASCAR, and more people than ever are cutting the cord, obviously. And I think the big thing here that IndyCar has done right with their new deal with Fox is that they're all on Big Daddy Fox. You have a ton of races on FS1, on USA. Those aren't networks that are going to get you a ton of ratings. You got to have NBC, you got to have Fox, you got to have whatever. These big networks to really get the ratings that you want. I just don't see a ton of advertising, period, for NASCAR in general.
Is that a thing, though? Because Statman brought that up, and I just kind of shook my head because I really didn't have an answer for it. For many, many years with NASCAR, where there were 2 networks. It was, Fox and NBC.
Yep.
But I thought, being tech-savvy individuals like you guys are, it really didn't matter where it was. You just knew where it was. The National Football League, I'm still having to get used to, okay, Thursday night is not NBC, it's Amazon, Monday night's ESPN, Saturday mornings, it's a big deal for me, but for guys that are in their late 20s, is that still a big deal?
I don't think it's a huge deal, but when you're talking about the demographic, which, as you pointed out during that Amazon stint, it's still older. It's what, average was like 60, or early 60s, late 50s?
Yeah, it was late 50s for Amazon, while I believe Fox was like 60.
Right, and the old heads don't want to go to the streaming services. They're against that, so I think that's a big factor. But again, if you want to capture more eyes, a younger demographic, you got to promote the sport. Like I said, there's a significant lack in advertisement. I've seen, NFL's been on for 3 weeks now. I have seen that stupid float commercial Every single commercial break, every single network. It works. You're promoting the sport. Even WWE ratings are up. You see their commercials all the time. There's just a lack of promotion within the races, the drivers, the personalities, the history of the sport, and that presence is huge, in my opinion. So I think there's just an untapped potential with the lack of advertising and the marketing, and the sports betting presence. I think is a big thing that they're missing out on, because that's huge in sports right now. Whether it's NFL, MLB, you name it, they should be hitting that. They should be advertising more, and maybe these new agencies they're bringing in with 72 and Sunny and the Night Advisory are going to change that initiative to bring in a younger demographic and just showcase the sport to more people. But as of right now in 2025, there has been a significant, glaring lack of promoting and advertising with NASCAR.
Richie, you handle social media accounts for a number of folks, including Racer Network, and you can speak to this directly. I can, just because I've been a fan of it since it started 20 plus years ago, and it's drifting. And it was directly relatable to 18 to 34-year-olds, and we understood it out of the gate. We knew what it meant. We were covering it before Fast and Furious hit.
Yep.
We were, again, Crasher and I were the Sport Compact drag racing pit reporters for ESPN and NHRA at the time. So as far as that, we know how you grow an audience. And drifting, as you cover it for Racer Network and their social media, there are some fervent fans out there, and I'd be damned if the average age is over 35 for drifting, right?
It will not shock me at all, and I can back that up because Racer Network, if you follow us, but partners here at SpeedFreaks, if you follow Racer Network on Instagram or TikTok, some of the most highest viewed videos and clips that Racer Network has shared are drifting videos from Formula Drift. And on top of that, you go and you watch those races on Racer Network, and the stands are packed. Worldwide Technology Raceway hosts Formula Drift every year. And when I was watching that race, packed stands. Packed stands. People love it. People love drifting for, whatever reason it is. I don't know if you've ever watched Formula Drift, Cole. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, it is a tough sport to understand because it has a scoring system and judges.
It's subjective.
Yeah. But you just watch it, and it's just cool to watch, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it's appealing.
And it's over. Excuse me. And it's over.
Yeah.
It's done in 15 seconds, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you tune in to watch a Formula Drift broadcast, and that broadcast window is 3 hours, but it just feels like it just goes by so much quicker for whatever reason than a NASCAR race does.
Formula One on Instagram have almost 2 million followers, 1.8. NASCAR, I think, has almost 5 million. IndyCar does not even have 1 million.
That's crazy.
NHRA, I'm not even going to go there. Formula One has 38 million. But, again, drifting, there was a time when, and another reason why I'm surprised that the Phelps, the Steves, haven't done anything like this. I know they're listening because they've certainly picked up on things that we've said in the past. There was a time at Irwindale Speedway when I had a microphone in Matt Kenseth's face, Casey Kane's face, Biffle's face. Who else was there? It was two. And 6 other Formula Drift guys. And the NASCAR drivers were driving the drift cars. And there was a competition. And that crossover for me, and at the time I was in my early 40s when this happened, and I was freaking going bananas thinking, this is so smart, so wise. Because when you get an 18, 19-year-old who's there with a date or his buddies, and then you see this big old clunking stock car that comes out that they think it's just his old dad's beater's Buick, but they see this freaking stock car drifting on the sides of the house that Drift built at Irwindale Speedway. It's like, whoa, that is kind of cool. Maybe I do need to go see it. This on an oval? No, on a road course. So that's another thing, Richie, that you're talking about, is being able to cross over into a younger set. That kind of went side angle on that. But I just thought about that, thinking this was before the Phelps brothers back in the day. That like, wow, we need to time this perfectly when we come to California Speedway, tying to Irwindale Speedway, the house that Drift built, and it was cool to see Casey Kane and those guys drift with these well-known young 20-somethings in these Nissans. The horsepower, when you've got, gosh, anybody that's put their hands on an engine, when you've got a 180 cubic inch engine that can do what these guys, when you got a 185 cubic inch engine that can go 220 miles an hour down a drag strip, do the math, goddammit. Just do the math, all right? Cole, what do you want to say? You're over there nodding your head. Do you want to say anything?
I was just listening to what you were saying.
Yeah, let me. The chat. Shout out to the chat today. You've been popping off with a lot of your thoughts here, so I'm going to run through some of the chat here before we move on. Blake weighing in says maybe the France family is going to sell. Now, this has been bandied about. I don't know if you guys do you guys remember this? This was about a little over a year ago, and there were some stories out there that maybe NASCAR was looking for new investment. And then that kind of brought up the idea of like, well, maybe the France family at some point does decide to sell. And so, the leading theory was that, okay, well, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is, heavily invested in, Formula One and other sports, big soccer, et cetera, well, maybe they're the ones that come in and provide this money to NASCAR. And that's what they go, because of all the money that the Public Investment Saudi Fund has, they're like, hey, here's $10 billion for NASCAR. Want to sell, France family? Kind of hard to pass up. But anyway, so Blake says that maybe the only thing that could save the sport is new ownership, which I tend to agree. That's something that Kenny, you were talking about a couple months ago. It's like with the 2311 lawsuit, especially is like, if the Phelpses of the world would run that organization, that would have been done and dusted a long time ago. But the Francis are too damn stubborn, so they're still in court. One more from Going Rounds here. He says, NASCAR should have taken less money and took a season-long deal with over-the-air network, IndyCar. IndyCar did that, and now they got the investment from Fox Sports as well, so that is doing really well. That way, fans would not have to be searching for where the race is and buying extra packages to watch, which is a pretty big deal, which is what we saw that ratings chart when Amazon took over. The ratings dipped off and really haven't recovered since for the rest of the season.
They want to blame, NASCAR wants to blame certain items on losing the older fans' interest. That's part and parcel of what you're seeing with the cable versus the apps. So they're shooting themselves in the foot there. I'm curious. I know the numbers aren't out there. I'm curious what the numbers would be if NASCAR went with Fox and NBC the entire year, and then the ancillary programming in-car, non-regulated programming for Amazon and other apps, how their ratings would be, where the younger set, no, I want to go watch the freaking Manning broadcast of the NASCAR race over on Amazon.com, or on the Amazon app. Don't know, but I think you're onto something there, because, again, we got rid of cable 4 or 5 years ago, but there are people that are still hanging on to that damn institution.
I just looked up the numbers, so I was curious, and this gives you an idea. 2011, there were about 100 million USA Network, which is where the races for NASCAR have been airing on over the last few weeks. 2011, at its peak, 100 million homes that USA Network was in. The latest numbers I'm seeing here, this is an article from Front Office Sports. I'm just going to read it here. Still, the move is also something of a clear acknowledgement of how dramatically the traditional pay TV universe has declined, now standing at about 54 million U.S. households, roughly half of the level of a decade ago.
That's crazy.
And then even just 2 years ago, it was 2023, that was at about 70 million. 2018, it was at 90 million. So it's just going down and down and down. And that is what NASCAR is sticking to right now. And I think this is why, and I'm very curious, it has not been announced yet, Formula One is likely going to Apple starting in next year. That's the leader in the clubhouse. So I'm curious how that's gonna change
Speaking
things.
Speaking of billions, Big Ass Johnson, is your mic on? Is it on? I want your take. What does your family watch? Are they still cable, or are they app when they're watching TV sports?
It's solely dependent on what they're trying to watch, but majority of the time it's on cable.
Right.
But
so they still have cable, right?
Yes, but we would not have cable if our apartment complex did not force it upon our rental agreement. So we would get rid of it.
The hell is that?
You tell me.
Freedom of choice. Oh, no. What about you, Cole? What about your family? Your family?
I mean, we do have cable. That's what we usually watch on for NASCAR. But I mean, I find myself more often than not, if there are broadcasts like on HBO or Prime or Peacock, I will usually tend to go to those because the clarity of the product is a little better than cable. But that's kind of nitpicking. If NASCAR is on, I'll find it. That's the bottom line.
Sure. Richie, we want to get to that Phelps audio?
Yeah, let's do, before we do that, I just want to kind of put a wrap on this. I want to show up the comparison. Bring up the IndyCar numbers, Cody. Here's another chart from New Track Record IndyCar podcast. They put out this chart I found.
Red is 2024 and blue is 2025.
Correct. And 2025, all on Fox. All on Fox. I don't know. I'm trying to see. Do they have the Indianapolis 500 in here? I
didn't see it on there.
Yeah.
I saw Indy 500 qualifying.
Yeah, Indy 500 is not in here because it's 7 million people tuned in to watch that race this year, so it would kind of skew the chart. But look at this. Just go into a broadcast network and look at the blue. Look how much higher they were, including that incredible number for Nashville. The season finale when the championship was already wrapped up.
Right.
And it is close to well over 1 million viewers tuned into that race on Fox.
What is worldwide? Where again, that's a little too far for me.
Gateway USA, yeah. Again, look at that, way up on a Sunday night. Yeah. That was over 1 million viewers tuned in to watch that race on a Sunday night.
I actually counted here, so it's 18 races, correct?
Yes.
I think it was 18. 18 races. There are 10 that are above last year's rating, so even over 50%. That's a huge increase. We were talking at great lengths about like how the IndyCar ratings weren't what we wanted them to be or what we expected them to be. But the fact that 10 of them are up in comparison to the 18 race season, that's a big deal. And Fox just announced they're investing more into IndyCar. So they see this as a huge investment, and it's only going to get better from here on out, I think.
Yeah, you just listen. Bring that graphic back up. You just roll into, and again, it's cost per point, return of investment. I get all that, man. I'm in the freaking business. But if I am a forward-thinking advertiser, I grind them on their costs, but at the price of a long-term agreement with Fox, because this isn't gradual, man. Look at Gateway. That's double. And yes, that was a Sunday night under the lights. The stars and moons aligned. But Jesus, man, that's double the ratings of last year. So, holy smokes,
even
Fox.
Nashville, where we already knew Alex Palou was the champion, that's more than double of last year. So they're doing something right. And I think Fox is a big contributing factor to that.
And then I do have one more. I have the chart on F1. This doesn't include Baku, but this gives you an idea. Bring up the F1 chart too. TV ratings on ESPN this year. Look at all that green. outside of Miami, which tanked. That's a lot of green. And then like overall, the ratings are up this year, which is pretty incredible. Just giving you an idea, the 18 to 49 demographic again for Baku was almost 500,000 people, 18 to 49 tuned in to watch that race on ESPN. So a lot of green. So most motorsports way up. So it's not a motorsports thing, y'all. It is not a motorsports thing why people are tuning out of NASCAR. It is a NASCAR problem. That should be the takeaway here. NASCAR should look at everything we're saying here and go, oh, shit, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble.
Here's another question for you guys. My teenage years, 20-somethings, I was much more into cars than I am obviously at this age. And when 74 Gremlin, no shit, 50s on the back, 60s on the front, hijackers, check the back. What? Yeah, go back to me. As a 16-year-old, you're so into cars and the detail of the cars that the tack, the engine pressure, I'm just going through all the freaking dial. I was so into that. And when I would go to a car show, I would look in the interior of the car. What's their tack peaked at, and so many different items inside the car that I was just a fan of. And I'm wondering, is that also part of the fandom for Formula One, being the tech side, that so many males are racing online or just have their hands on a console, that it's just more familiar to them what Formula One's doing versus you can't comprehend a freaking drag car. You cannot. But if you're seeing a Formula One car and you're looking over the halo and you're seeing all these dials and you got your hands on a red button, a yellow button, a blue button, a green button that all of you guys were raised on these freaking buttons, these colors. Is that part and parcel of the involvement of the younger set digging Formula One so much?
You're talking about like the technological advances and the actual like tech of the cars. No. I don't really see that. And a lot of the F1 creators I follow, and I follow a lot of them, and a lot of them are female too, which is awesome. Which again, there are some out there in the NASCAR space and IndyCar space, and they do a great job. But like the amount of content creators I see that are women is far and above what I see in other motorsports. And that's incredible. And for the most part, like they're all invested in the not only the racing itself, but they're all invested in the personalities of the drivers and the storylines and the drama that comes out of the sport, more so than actual like the technicalities of what is actually happening in the car, et cetera, et cetera. So
all right. Damn. So Steve Phelps?
Yeah. I'm going to set up to Steve Phelps a little bit here because he brought the ratings up on his own. In his opening remarks last year in November at the State of the Sport address here in Phoenix at Phoenix Raceway, he brought up, hey, let's talk about ratings now. And his preamble to the clip you're about to see was essentially saying, listen, early on in 2024, we had a lot of races, and our biggest races were affected by rain. He quoted, he said the Daytona 500 was down because of rain. He said the Coca-Cola 600 was down because of rain. The Chicago Street Course race was down because of rain.
All three races, one of us were attending.
That's true.
Right.
That is true. The SpeedFreaks weather jinx. So anyway, so his preamble was like, listen, our ratings were bad for most of the season because we lost so many viewers because we had to change around our schedule. Even the Clash, the 2024 Clash, was affected by rain. They had to completely change the schedule and compact it to fit that entire race in. And so he was saying that, like, listen, our ratings were bad for most of the season because of all this weather issues. So we were about 20% down for most of the season. And then he goes on to say this, where like, hey, we crawled out of that hole and got into the positive last year. But listen to what the very last sentence.
Okay, just before you crank into this, this is when he was president of NASCAR. Now he's the general manager.
No, he's commissioner.
Commissioner, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Commissioner of NASCAR. So this is when he still had the presidential seal with his name. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you had asked me at the beginning of the year, I will bet you that you can dig out of a 27% hole at the 500 and then two double-digit ratings declines on your next two highest rated races, or two of the three highest rated races, I would have said there is no way that's going to happen. As we sit here for our cup races, we are in the positive numbers. And what does that say to me? It says the sport is resilient and the sport is growing.
The sport is resilient and the sport is growing. Steve Phelps, you are eating your own words there this year, my friend. I cannot wait until this press conference in November when he has to try and spin what he just said.
Whatever the Francis give him as far as a template.
Points.
Yeah.
That just, what little I know of Steve Phelps, we've had him on the show once. That's just not, to me, Steve Phelps talking there.
No. And I've been transparent on this. If he had the keys to the kingdom and he was able to run the sport how he wanted to run it, it would be in a completely different place and for the better. I think he's a great leader for NASCAR. I think everybody would agree with that too.
Do we see, Richie, and maybe it does take a Saudi investment fund or sports fund or a Liberty Media, do we see in our lifetime, specifically my lifetime, because I don't want to tend you guys to shit the bed before I do, that the NASCAR Cup Series opens up for a Formula One race, whether it's COTA, whether I don't care where it is. Do you see NASCAR? It just came to me when you talked about if Steve Phelps had the keys and a different owner, an owner that is not stuck like the France family, do you think we would see NASCAR opening up with a Saturday afternoon race, Saturday night race for Formula One? It's a big question.
If they were smart, yes. I think NASCAR would do it in a heartbeat if they had the chance and opportunity, because they're the little brother to Formula One worldwide. So it would have to be a Formula One. It would be Formula One that have to come to them and say, hey, you want to come play little brother to us? Mm-hmm. Come do it.
But do you think they would even do that? I feel like F1 wouldn't entertain that.
Well, that's where the relationships come from. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know the France family, but just look at what you know. Do you think that Lisa France Kennedy, and Jim France sit at the same table as the heads of Liberty Media? They don't. No. They don't move in those circles. They don't move in the circles of McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz. But someone who does might be Steve Phelps and his tenure in other series, or someone else that comes in that can knock on the door and get a freaking answer.
I mean, 25 years ago when you guys started SpeedFreaks, would we be talking about a NASCAR, IndyCar doubleheader at Phoenix?
Right.
Right? If I would have gotten you guys and said that, and you asked me the same question about NASCAR and IndyCar, what would have been your response back then?
Well, I'll say wait 2 years from now, and I'll say yes. Because we have been saying that for 20 years about combining series. My point is, you want to reach a younger audience. Just acquiesce. Just give in to your soul, your pride of you're the behemoth in America, and just try a one-off deal with it. Ignore the naysayers and just try it. Fox, just try it. Why not? Mm-hmm. So, wow. What else we got? Is that it? Oh, we got Denny Hamlin. We want to talk Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs?
We can, yeah. I mean, this has kind of settled down over the last 72 hours, Cole. It's not as big a story as it was. It's
not really. I mean, you've had guys like Dale Jr. and Denny Hamlin on his podcast weigh in on it, even Kevin Harvick, which they all raised good points. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of beating a dead horse here. But it's the only storyline outside of the ratings going into Kansas. So Kenny brought up a good point that Kevin Harvick mentioned on his podcast. Could this be the one notch against Denny Hamlin to where he doesn't win the championship? So
the thing that derails him, where he's having to answer these questions every week about his teammate.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think it really matters. So if you guys want to talk about it, we can, but it's fizzled out, you know?
I'm gassed.
Right?
I went into depths into my cerebellum, but I haven't gone. I don't think ever. Wow.
I mean, I did have at the ready Denny Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the conversation, but if anybody, maybe chat, do you want to hear from Denny Hamlin? You guys probably watch his podcast already, so you don't need to hear from him again. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, let's go play Dale Earnhardt. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
People love Dale. Go on.
And his take on the feud between teammates Ty Gibbs, the grandson of Joe Gibbs, and his teammate Denny Hamlin, 1 win shy of 60 and running for a championship. Denny Hamlin is in the hunt for championship. Ty Gibbs is not. This is Dale Earnhardt Jr. talking about that.
So Denny is right in saying, look, man, you're not in the playoffs. We are. You're our teammate. Like, you'll totally let him go.
If he's better, sure.
Well, the thing that I think about is not, I mean, look, if I'm racing my teammate and he's in the playoffs and I'm not, like, I'm not even thinking about him in the car. I'm letting him go because all of his crew, his crew chief, the engineer, the team owner, all of the employees of the team, like the team manager, GM, everybody who's present is seeing this. And I'm totally going to make myself an by running him hard, even for a couple corners. All the people that are building these cars and making these cars every week are going to see you do that. The people that are at home, the people that work in the engine shop, all the people that are sitting on their couch that are employees of this operation that are sitting at home watching, they're going to go, what the hell is he thinking?
I do want to say one thing on this. So as a journalist, I have to look at both sides unbiased, and I get called contradictory for that. But on one hand, I get what Dale's saying, and I agree to an extent. Like, the ultimate goal for a race team is to win a championship. But at the same point, like, Ty Gibbs is trying to win his first Cup Series race. And when you're on the racetrack, your goal is to win the race. Like my guy Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. So I get that, but I think it's the way that Ty Gibbs went about it and how he got heated over the radio at both his teammates, Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin, is what maybe made us be a little bit more harsh on Ty Gibbs than we maybe should have been last week. So I get both points here, but the ultimate goal is to win a championship. You just got to take into account that this is a young driver trying to win his first Cup Series race.
Playing off what Dale said there, Dale was not handed his wealth. He watched his father earn it, and his father forced Dale to earn his wealth, to earn his equity. And so Dale understands the importance of a hard-earned buck. Cody, who lands our helicopter Wednesdays and Saturdays, same. Same for Richie, same for Cole, same for me, same for Crash, where all of us are self-made, whatever we're making of ourselves. None of us have been blessed to have generational type money before our mom decided to pass us out. Man, so basic. But for Ty Gibbs, it certainly looks like he doesn't understand the importance of where he is, the chair that he sits in every freaking Sunday morning, the logos that he continues to sport, the individuals that he represents. It all goes back to how you were raised. And being raised as Richie jokes about it as a Nepo baby. You could call it whatever you want. I see it as the father of an 11-year-old. I can spot a kid that's raised like a punk ass or a self-righteous little punk, 10 seconds. And I get my daughter away from him. No, we're not participating in this. Henley just got a letter from her science teacher today, a postcard. The science teacher had no need to send a postcard to our home praising my daughter's generosity, her respectfulness, her ability to welcome others. I could go on and on and on and on, which is an indication of how she was raised. Yes, I'm patting myself on the back. My wife, my family, my mother, her, patting everybody because of how she was raised. Ty Gibbs was never close to being raised like that. You be respectful. Mm-hmm. You be respectful. And Ty Gibbs is not respectful for anything that he does, at least in front of the cameras. Even when he says, I want to thank my sponsors, I don't freaking believe it. But when Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain say, I want to thank my sponsors, I wouldn't be here without Jockey or Busch or Bass Pro. Damn it, I believe it. Because those sons of bitches work their way up. Ty Gibbs has not. And it's only going to get worse for this kid. Because I think we've talked about this for years. Like, oh, he'll turn it around. He'll turn around. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And I understand he's human. And it's difficult to sit here and bash a young man like that. But I used the phrase Sunday night. When you are in the clubhouse with Aston, it's tough to shake it. So Ty Gibbs, you better make the call to somebody and get some freaking expertise on just how to be a better person, at least in front of the camera. Because there are some freaking a-holes when the cameras are off. And if you ever catch me in a bar, I'll share those people with you. But when the cameras are on, man, America loves them. Freaking love them. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we'll do it again Sunday night. Crasher and yours truly, we'll be hanging out with our friends at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Get your tickets now. The biggest, baddest drag racers on the planet will be joining us from Worldwide Technology Raceway. We'll be hosting the Worldwide Technology Raceway SpeedFreaks stage again with 6 of the baddest mother effers, from Greg Anderson, Alexis DeJoria, Antron Brown, Sean Reed, Brittany Force, Jack Beckman, go on and on and on. It's going to be a fantastic weekend with our friends at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Make sure you're here Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. See you.